My wife chose her 28-year-old nephew over our 22-year marriage and kicked me out of my own home office. I slept in the guest room and worked from the garage like a tenant in my own home. He even brought his girlfriend to live with us. My wife Sharon, 49F, kicked me, 52M, out of my own home office last Tuesday because her nephew Kyle, 28M, needed a quiet place to work on his freelance projects. She told me to set up my computer in the garage because Kyle's mental health was more important than my work meetings. I've been working from home for 3 years and that office has been mine since we bought this house. Kyle has been living with us for 8 months now. Let me give you the full story because I need to get this off my chest and maybe someone here can tell me if I'm going crazy. Kyle moved in with us last March after he got evicted from his apartment. Sharon's sister died when Kyle was 12 and Sharon basically raised him from then on. She always treated him like her own son even though we never had kids together. Kyle lived with us through high school and most of college until he moved out 5 years ago. When Kyle showed up at our door with 3 suitcases and a story about his landlord being unreasonable, Sharon immediately said he could stay with us. She didn't ask me. She just announced it at dinner that night like it was already decided. Kyle sat there nodding and said he just needed a few weeks to get back on his feet. Those few weeks turned into 8 months. Kyle works as a freelance graphic designer, which means he's home all day while Sharon and I work. At least I thought we both worked. Sharon started working from home more often after Kyle moved in. She said she wanted to make sure he had company and didn't get depressed being alone all day. The first month wasn't too bad. Kyle helped with groceries and cleaned the kitchen sometimes. He was quiet and kept to himself mostly. I figured he was embarrassed about his situation and trying to figure things out. Then things started changing. Kyle began complaining about everything. The house was too cold. The house was too hot. The neighbor's dog barked too much. The internet was too slow for his work. Sharon jumped to fix every single problem. She bought him a space heater for his room. She bought a better router. She even went next door and asked our neighbor Mrs. Chen to keep her dog inside more often. I told Sharon that Kyle was a grown man and could handle these things himself. She said I was being unsympathetic and that Kyle had been through a lot. She reminded me about his mother dying and how hard it was for him to ask for help. Around month 3, Kyle started eating all our food. Not just snacks or leftovers. He would eat entire meals that Sharon cooked for dinner before we got home from work. Sharon would come home to find empty pots and Kyle would say he got hungry waiting for us. Instead of telling him to wait or make his own food, Sharon started cooking double portions. Our grocery bill went from $200 a week to almost $400. When I pointed this out, Sharon said family comes first and that Kyle would contribute when his business picked up. Kyle nodded along and promised he was working on some big projects that would pay well soon. The big projects never materialized. Kyle also started having friends over constantly. Not 1 or 2 people. Groups of 6 or 7 20-somethings who would stay until 2 in the morning on weeknights. They would blast music, smoke on our porch, and leave beer cans everywhere. I work early shifts and need to be asleep by 10. The first time I asked Kyle to keep it down, he said he would. Nothing changed. The second time, I was more direct and told him the parties needed to stop on weeknights. Kyle went to Sharon and said I was making him feel unwelcome in his own home. Sharon told me I was being too rigid and that Kyle needed social interaction for his mental health. I started sleeping in the guest room because the noise kept me awake. Month 4 brought a new development. Kyle decided he needed the living room for his workspace because his bedroom didn't have good lighting. He moved his computer, drawing tablet, and all his art supplies into our main living area. The coffee table disappeared under stacks of his papers and sketches. The couch became his filing cabinet. I couldn't watch TV anymore because Kyle said the noise interfered with his creative process. Sharon bought him noise-canceling headphones, but Kyle said they gave him headaches. So the TV stayed off whenever Kyle was working, which was supposedly all day every day. Sharon and I used to watch the news together every evening and a cooking show on Sunday mornings. Those routines ended completely. Around month 5, Kyle announced he was struggling with anxiety and depression. He said the stress of being unemployed and living with relatives was affecting his mental health. Sharon immediately started researching therapists and support groups. She made appointments for him and drove him to sessions twice a week. Kyle also said he needed absolute quiet to focus on his work. This meant no vacuum cleaner during the day, no lawn mower before noon, and no phone calls in the common areas. Sharon enforced these rules strictly. She would shush me if I answered my phone in the kitchen or started the dishwasher during Kyle's work hours. I pointed out that Kyle seemed to have no trouble focusing when his friends were over making noise until midnight. Sharon said that was different because social connection was part of his healing process. The breaking point started building in month 6. Sharon began cooking Kyle's favorite meals every night. Not family dinners where we all ate the same thing. Special meals just for Kyle because he said regular food made his anxiety worse. She would make him chicken parmesan while we ate sandwiches. She would bake him cookies while telling me we needed to cut sugar from our diet. Kyle also developed very specific food requirements. He couldn't eat anything with onions because they upset his stomach. He needed organic vegetables because pesticides triggered his anxiety. He required a particular brand of coffee because other brands gave him jitters. Sharon bought everything he requested without question. Meanwhile, Kyle contributed exactly $0 to household expenses. Sharon paid for his therapy sessions. She bought his special food. She even gave him cash for gas money and art supplies. When I asked about Kyle's contribution, Sharon said he was family and family doesn't charge each other rent. I reminded Sharon that Kyle had been promising to contribute for months. She said I was putting too much pressure on him and that financial stress would worsen his mental health. Month 7 brought the office situation to a head. Kyle decided his freelance business needed a dedicated workspace. He couldn't work in the living room anymore because Sharon watched her morning shows and that was distracting. His bedroom wasn't professional enough for video calls with clients. He needed my home office. Sharon presented this to me as a done deal. She said Kyle's business was finally taking off and he needed proper space to succeed. She suggested I could work from the kitchen table or set up in the garage. I told Sharon absolutely not. My home office had my computer, my files, my desk setup that I needed for my actual job that actually paid our bills. Kyle could work from anywhere with a laptop. I couldn't. Sharon said I was being selfish and unsupportive. She accused me of resenting Kyle's success and trying to sabotage his recovery. She said a real husband would prioritize his wife's family. That's when Kyle joined the conversation. He said he understood my reluctance but his clients expected professionalism. He couldn't take video calls from a bedroom or kitchen. He needed the office space to build his business and become independent. I told Kyle he could rent an office space or work from a coffee shop like thousands of other freelancers. Kyle said those options were too expensive and too noisy. He needed the home office. Sharon supported Kyle completely. She said we had plenty of space and I was being territorial over a room. She reminded me that Kyle was trying to rebuild his life and needed our support. The argument lasted 3 hours. Sharon and Kyle tag-teamed me with reasons why I should give up my office. They had an answer for every objection I raised. They made me feel like I was the unreasonable one for wanting to keep my own workspace in my own house. I finally agreed to let Kyle use the office 2 days a week for important client meetings. Sharon said that wasn't enough. Kyle needed consistent access to build his routine and establish his business. We compromised on Kyle having the office Monday through Wednesday. I would work from the kitchen table those days. That compromise lasted exactly 1 week. Last Tuesday morning, I went to my office to start my workday and found Kyle already there. He had moved all my stuff to boxes in the corner and set up his equipment. When I asked what he was doing, Kyle said he had an urgent project that couldn't wait until his scheduled office days. I told Kyle he needed to move his stuff and stick to our agreement. Kyle said the project was worth $2,000 and could lead to more work. He asked if I could just work from the kitchen for 1 day. That 1 day became the whole week. Every morning Kyle had some urgent project or important client call that required the office. Every evening Sharon supported his need for the space. Friday afternoon I came home early and found Kyle playing video games in my office. Not working. Not taking client calls. Playing video games on my computer. I told Kyle to get out immediately. Kyle said he was taking a break between projects and would work later. I said breaks could happen in his bedroom or the living room. The office was supposed to be for work only. Kyle went to Sharon and said I was harassing him and interfering with his business. Sharon came to the office and told me I was creating unnecessary conflict. She said Kyle needed flexibility to manage his workload and I was being controlling. That's when Sharon told me to set up my computer in the garage permanently because Kyle needed the office full-time now. She said Kyle's business was growing and he couldn't keep switching locations. She said my work could be done anywhere but Kyle's required a professional environment. I asked Sharon when my needs started mattering less than Kyle's. She said it wasn't about that. She said Kyle was finally getting his life together and we needed to support him. She said I was being selfish and jealous of Kyle's progress. I pointed out that Kyle hadn't paid rent, utilities, or groceries in 8 months. I said Kyle's business wasn't successful enough to justify taking over my office. I said Kyle was taking advantage of Sharon's generosity. Sharon accused me of resenting Kyle and trying to sabotage his recovery. She said I was being cruel to someone who lost his mother and was struggling with mental health issues. She said I should be ashamed of putting my convenience over family loyalty. That's when I realized Sharon would always choose Kyle over me. Every time there was a conflict, Sharon sided with Kyle. Every time I raised concerns, Sharon made me the problem. Every time Kyle needed something, Sharon provided it without question. I've been sleeping in the guest room for months because of Kyle's parties. I've been eating sandwiches while Kyle gets home-cooked meals. I've been working from the kitchen table while Kyle uses my office. I've been tiptoeing around my own house to accommodate Kyle's needs. Sharon treats Kyle like he's her child and I'm just some guy who lives here. She prioritizes his comfort over mine. She defends his behavior no matter how unreasonable. She makes excuses for his lack of contribution while expecting me to sacrifice my space and peace. I don't know what to do anymore. Sharon won't listen to my concerns. Kyle won't respect any boundaries. I feel like a stranger in my own home. Is this my marriage now? Am I supposed to live like this until Kyle decides to move out? Because Kyle shows no signs of leaving. Why would he? He has free housing, free food, free utilities, a dedicated workspace, and a personal advocate who defends his every action. I need advice because I can't keep living like this but I don't know how to fix it. Update 1: A lot has happened since my original post and I need to update everyone who gave me advice. Some of you were right about things getting worse before they get better. Last Monday morning I woke up to find my car missing from the driveway. I checked the garage thinking maybe I parked it there and forgot. No car. I looked around the neighborhood thinking maybe someone moved it for street cleaning. Still no car. I asked Sharon if she knew where my car was. She said Kyle borrowed it for a client meeting across town. She said his car was having issues and he needed reliable transportation for an important presentation. Kyle doesn't have a car. He sold it 3 months ago because he couldn't afford the payments. Sharon and I have been driving him everywhere since then. Doctor appointments, grocery runs, social events. We became his personal taxi service. I told Sharon that Kyle should have asked me before taking my car. She said Kyle didn't want to wake me up because I'd been stressed lately. She said it was just for a few hours and I was overreacting. Kyle returned my car at dinner time with an empty gas tank and a scratch on the passenger door. When I pointed out the scratch, Kyle said it was already there and he didn't notice it. The scratch wasn't there before because I wash my car every weekend and check for damage. Kyle also left fast food wrappers in my car and adjusted all my seat and mirror settings. The radio was tuned to some rap station that hurt my ears when I started the engine the next morning. I told Kyle he needed to ask permission before using my car and fill the gas tank when he returned it. Kyle said he would remember that next time. Sharon said I was being petty about family sharing resources. Tuesday brought another surprise. I came home from work to find Kyle had painted his bedroom bright orange without asking. The smell of paint filled the entire house. Kyle said orange was better for his creativity and mental health. Our house has neutral colors throughout. Beige walls, white trim, hardwood floors. We spent months choosing a color scheme when we bought the place. Now Kyle's room looks like a traffic cone in the middle of our tasteful home. Sharon said Kyle needed to personalize his space to feel comfortable. She said paint could be changed later if needed. She bought Kyle additional art supplies to decorate his newly orange room. Wednesday I discovered Kyle had been using my credit card for online purchases. Sharon gave him my card information for art supplies and Kyle ordered $300 worth of equipment without asking. Professional brushes, specialty paper, digital software subscriptions. I found out when my credit card company called about unusual activity. Kyle had been making small purchases for weeks. Coffee shop visits, movie tickets, clothing orders. Sharon authorized every purchase by giving Kyle my card details. I canceled my credit card immediately and demanded Kyle pay back every unauthorized purchase. Kyle said he thought Sharon had cleared everything with me. Sharon said she forgot to mention the smaller purchases and I was making a big deal over nothing. The $300 art supply order arrived Thursday. Kyle acted like Christmas morning unwrapping boxes of expensive brushes and specialty papers. He thanked Sharon for supporting his artistic development. He didn't mention paying me back. Friday brought the biggest shock yet. I came home early because I had a dentist appointment and found Kyle in bed with some woman in what used to be my home office. They weren't just sleeping. They were making enough noise that I heard them from the hallway. I knocked loudly and told them to get dressed because this was inappropriate. Kyle yelled through the door that he was working and I should come back later. Working? That's what he called it. The woman left through the back door while Kyle got dressed. Kyle came out acting like nothing happened. He said he was taking a break between projects and I misunderstood the situation. I told Kyle that bringing women to our house for hookups was completely unacceptable. Kyle said he was an adult and could have female friends over. He said I was being judgmental and old-fashioned. Sharon came home to find Kyle and me in a heated discussion about boundaries and appropriate behavior. Kyle told Sharon I was harassing him about his personal life and making him feel unwelcome. Sharon took Kyle's side immediately. She said Kyle was a grown man entitled to privacy and companionship. She said I was being invasive and controlling. She suggested I should have knocked instead of barging into his workspace. I pointed out that it used to be my office and Kyle was having sex in there during work hours. Sharon said the room was Kyle's space now and I needed to respect his privacy. She said Kyle's personal relationships were none of my business. That evening I overheard Sharon on the phone with her sister talking about me. Sharon said I was being difficult and jealous of Kyle's success. She said I was making Kyle's recovery harder by creating unnecessary conflict. She said she was worried about Kyle's mental health because of my negative attitude. Sharon never mentioned Kyle's unauthorized credit card use, car borrowing, or inappropriate office activities. She painted me as the unreasonable one causing problems for no reason. Saturday morning I tried talking to Sharon privately about everything that happened that week. I explained that Kyle was crossing boundaries and taking advantage of our generosity. I said Kyle needed rules and consequences like any other house guest. Sharon accused me of making a list of complaints to use against Kyle. She said I was looking for reasons to kick Kyle out because I never wanted him here. She said I was being selfish and unsupportive when Kyle needed family most. I asked Sharon when Kyle was planning to move out. She said Kyle was finally building his business and needed stability to succeed. She said pushing Kyle to leave would damage his progress and mental health. I asked Sharon what Kyle had actually accomplished in 8 months. No steady income, no savings, no plan for independence. Kyle was living like a teenager while Sharon enabled his behavior. Sharon said Kyle was working hard and making progress. She said his art was improving and he was getting more client interest. She said I didn't understand creative work and artistic development. Sunday I found Kyle using my laptop because his computer was updating software. Kyle had downloaded games, changed my desktop background, and installed programs I didn't recognize. He also saved his personal files in my documents folder. I told Kyle to use his own equipment and stop touching mine. Kyle said he was just borrowing it temporarily and would ask next time. He said his computer was slow and mine worked better for his projects. I changed all my passwords and put locks on my office door. Sharon said I was being paranoid and creating artificial barriers. She said families should trust each other and share resources freely. This morning Sharon told me Kyle needed a key to my office because he was expecting an important client call and couldn't wait for me to unlock the door. She said I was sabotaging Kyle's business success with my security measures. I told Sharon that Kyle had lost office privileges after the incident on Friday. Sharon said I was punishing Kyle for having a personal life. She said I was being controlling and unreasonable. We're not talking much anymore. Sharon spends most of her time with Kyle discussing his projects and planning his future. I eat dinner alone while they strategize about his artistic career in the living room. Kyle acts like he owns this house now. He brings friends over whenever he wants. He uses our belongings without asking. He makes demands about temperature, noise, and food. Sharon fulfills every request while treating my concerns as personal attacks. Several people commented on my original post asking about finances. Kyle owes us over $2,000 in unpaid rent based on market rates for similar rooms. He owes me $800 in unauthorized credit card purchases. He owes about $1,500 in extra grocery costs over 8 months. Kyle owes us roughly $4,300 and shows no signs of paying anything back. When I mentioned this to Sharon, she said putting monetary value on family relationships was disgusting. She said Kyle would contribute when he was financially stable. I don't think Kyle wants to become financially stable. Why would he? He has everything he needs without paying for any of it. He has a dedicated workspace, meal service, housekeeping, transportation, and unlimited emotional support from Sharon. I'm starting to think this situation won't resolve itself. Kyle isn't going to leave voluntarily. Sharon isn't going to enforce boundaries or expectations. I'm the only one unhappy with this arrangement. Some of you suggested marriage counseling in the comments. I brought this up to Sharon last week. She said counseling was expensive and unnecessary. She said our marriage was fine except for my attitude toward Kyle. Sharon thinks I'm the problem. Kyle thinks I'm the problem. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe I should just accept that this is my life now and stop complaining. But I can't. I can't live like a tenant in my own home. I can't watch my marriage become secondary to Kyle's needs. I can't pretend this is normal or healthy. I don't know what my next move should be. Any advice would be appreciated because I'm running out of options here. Update: 2 things have gotten much worse and I need to tell you what happened because some of you saw this coming in your comments. 3 weeks ago Sharon announced that Kyle was depressed because he felt like a burden on our household. She said Kyle needed to feel more valued and appreciated for his contributions. I asked what contributions because Kyle still hadn't paid for anything or done any significant housework. Sharon said Kyle contributed emotional support and creative energy to our home. She said Kyle helped her feel young and inspired. She said Kyle brought joy and laughter that had been missing from our marriage. That stung because Sharon and I used to laugh together all the time. We used to take weekend trips and try new restaurants. We used to stay up late talking about our plans and dreams. All of that stopped when Kyle moved in because Sharon focused all her attention on him. Sharon decided Kyle needed a formal role in our household to boost his confidence. She made Kyle the household manager responsible for organizing meals, scheduling maintenance, and coordinating social activities. Kyle accepted this imaginary position enthusiastically. Kyle immediately started making rules about how we should run our house. Quiet hours extended from 9 p.m. to 11 a.m. for his sleep schedule. Grocery shopping happened on Sundays only so Kyle could plan meals for the week. Social visits required 24-hour notice so Kyle could prepare mentally. Sharon enforced Kyle's rules strictly. When my brother stopped by unexpectedly on Saturday, Sharon made him wait outside while she asked Kyle if visitors were acceptable that day. Kyle grudgingly agreed to a 30-minute visit maximum. 2 weeks ago Kyle announced he was bringing his girlfriend Emma, 26F, to live with us temporarily. Kyle said Emma was being evicted from her apartment and needed somewhere to stay while she looked for new housing. Sharon immediately agreed without consulting me. Emma moved in last Monday with 3 suitcases and a cat. Nobody asked if I was okay with pets. Emma's cat is not litter trained and has been using our house as a giant bathroom. The smell hits you when you walk through the front door. Emma works part-time at a coffee shop and spends the rest of her time sleeping or watching Netflix in the living room. She eats our food, uses our utilities, and contributes nothing to household expenses. Kyle says Emma is stressed about her housing situation and we should be patient. Sharon treats Emma like a second daughter. She bought Emma special shampoo and body wash. She gave Emma towels and bedding from our linen closet. She even moved some of her jewelry to Emma's room so Emma could borrow accessories for work. I now live with 3 adults who don't pay rent, utilities, or groceries. Kyle and Emma have taken over the living room completely. My office became Kyle's studio. The guest room where I sleep smells like cat waste. The kitchen is always full of their friends hanging out and making noise. Last week I tried to have a serious conversation with Sharon about our living situation. I pointed out that we were supporting 2 able-bodied adults who could work full-time and support themselves. I said this arrangement was unsustainable financially and personally. Sharon accused me of being unwelcoming to people who needed help. She said Kyle and Emma were going through difficult times and deserved our support. She said I was being selfish and materialistic by focusing on money instead of family loyalty. I asked Sharon when Kyle and Emma were planning to move out. Sharon said they were working on their situations but needed time to save money and find appropriate housing. She said rushing them would be cruel and counterproductive. I pointed out that Kyle had been saying the same thing for 10 months. Sharon said Kyle was making progress with his art business and just needed patience. She said Emma was looking for better employment and just needed encouragement. Friday night, Kyle and Emma threw a housewarming party for their friends. 20-something people filled our house drinking beer and playing loud music until 3 a.m. They used our backyard for smoking and left cigarette butts everywhere. Someone vomited in our guest bathroom and nobody cleaned it up. I asked Kyle to end the party at midnight because I had early meetings on Saturday. Kyle said the party was just getting started and everyone was having fun. He said I could sleep upstairs with earplugs if the noise bothered me. Sharon supported Kyle's right to celebrate his new living situation. She said young people needed social connection and I was being an old grouch. She bought extra beer and snacks for Kyle's friends and helped him set up music speakers. Saturday morning I woke up to find our house destroyed. Empty bottles and cans everywhere. Food ground into our carpet. Furniture moved around and damaged. The kitchen sink full of dirty dishes and cigarette ashes. Kyle and Emma were still sleeping when I started cleaning up. Sharon helped me for about an hour before giving up and going shopping. I spent my entire Saturday cleaning up after Kyle's party while Kyle and Emma slept until dinner time. When Kyle finally woke up, he thanked me for cleaning and said the party was a huge success. He said his friends loved our house and wanted to come back soon. Kyle acted like I was the party cleanup service instead of the homeowner who got stuck with the mess. Sunday I told Sharon this had to stop. I said Kyle and Emma needed to move out within 30 days. I said I was done supporting adults who treated our house like a free hotel with maid service. Sharon said I was being unreasonable and cruel. She said Kyle and Emma had nowhere else to go and kicking them out would damage their mental health. She said I was prioritizing my comfort over family welfare. I reminded Sharon that Emma wasn't family and Kyle was supposed to be temporary. Sharon said Emma was Kyle's partner and therefore family by extension. She said temporary had become permanent because Kyle needed long-term stability. Monday morning I found Kyle in my home office again despite the locks I installed. Kyle had somehow gotten a key and moved all his equipment back into my workspace. When I asked how he got in, Kyle said Sharon gave him a spare key because he needed access for important client work. I told Sharon she had no right to give Kyle keys to my locked office. Sharon said the office belonged to both of us and she could give access to whoever needed it. She said I was being controlling and paranoid about a simple workspace. That's when I realized Sharon had completely chosen Kyle over me. She would override any boundary I set. She would undermine any rule I tried to enforce. She would give Kyle whatever he wanted regardless of how it affected me. Tuesday, I spoke with a lawyer about my options. The lawyer said Kyle and Emma were legal tenants now because they'd been living here over 30 days. Getting them out would require formal eviction proceedings that could take months. The lawyer also explained that Sharon had equal rights to our house and could invite anyone she wanted to live here. Unless Kyle or Emma committed crimes or violated lease terms, I couldn't force them to leave without Sharon's cooperation. Wednesday, I tried one last conversation with Sharon about our marriage. I explained that I felt like a stranger in my own home. I said Kyle and Emma had taken over our space and our relationship. I asked if Sharon missed spending time together, just the two of us. Sharon said our marriage was stronger because we were helping family members in need. She said Kyle and Emma brought energy and purpose to our lives. She said I was being negative and resistant to positive changes. I asked Sharon what would happen if I moved out. Sharon said that would be my choice, but Kyle and Emma would stay because they needed stability. She said running away wouldn't solve my attitude problems. Yesterday I started looking at apartments for rent. I found a one-bedroom place about 10 minutes from my office. The rent is $1,200 per month, which I can afford on my income alone. This morning I told Sharon I was moving out next weekend. Sharon asked if this was some kind of threat or ultimatum. I said it wasn't a threat. I was just informing her of my decision. Sharon said I was abandoning our marriage over temporary houseguests. She said Kyle and Emma would eventually move out and things would return to normal. She said I was being dramatic and making permanent decisions based on temporary situations. I asked Sharon how long temporary meant to her. She couldn't give me a timeline. She said Kyle and Emma needed time to establish themselves financially. She said rushing them would be unfair and harmful. I told Sharon I would continue paying the mortgage and utilities so she could afford to keep the house. I said Kyle and Emma could start contributing their share since they were permanent residents now. Sharon accused me of trying to force Kyle and Emma out through financial pressure. She said charging family members rent was greedy and inappropriate. She said I was trying to control people through money. Kyle overheard our conversation and joined in. He said my moving out proved I never cared about family loyalty. He said Sharon deserved better than a husband who abandoned her during difficult times. He said I was selfish and immature. Emma also offered her opinion. She said my negative energy was toxic for everyone in the house. She said Kyle and Sharon were happier without my constant complaints. She said I should leave if I couldn't appreciate their hospitality. So that's where things stand. I'm moving out this weekend. Sharon, Kyle, and Emma will have the house to themselves. Sharon can focus entirely on supporting Kyle's artistic career and Emma's employment search without my interference. Part of me hopes Sharon will realize what she's lost when I'm gone. Part of me thinks she's already replaced me with Kyle as her primary relationship. Either way, I can't keep living like this. Some of you predicted this outcome in your earlier comments. You were right that the situation would escalate until someone had to leave. I never thought it would be me leaving my own house, but here we are. I'll update again once I'm settled in my new place and see how Sharon handles the financial reality of supporting 3 adults on her income alone. Update 3: I moved out 4 months ago and wanted to give you a final update on how everything turned out because some of you have been following this story from the beginning. The first month in my apartment was difficult. I had to buy new furniture and household items since I left most everything at the house. My place was quiet though. Nobody woke me up with parties. Nobody used my belongings without asking. Nobody made demands about temperature or noise levels. Sharon called me twice during that first month. Both calls were about money. The first call was 2 weeks after I moved out when she realized the mortgage payment was larger than she expected. Sharon asked if I could increase my contribution because Kyle and Emma still weren't working full-time. I told Sharon the amount I was paying covered my legal obligation for the mortgage. Any additional expenses were her responsibility since she chose to support 2 extra adults. Sharon said I was being vindictive and punishing Kyle and Emma for my marital problems. The second call was 3 weeks later when their utility bills arrived. The electric bill was $340 for 1 month because Kyle needed professional lighting for his art studio and Emma kept the heat at 78 degrees. The water bill was $180 because Kyle took long showers and Emma did laundry every day. Sharon asked if I could help with utilities since my name was still on the accounts. I said I would transfer the utilities to her name and she could manage them independently. Sharon said that wasn't fair because Kyle and Emma couldn't afford to pay utilities yet. I had the utilities transferred the next week. Sharon had to put deposits down and set up payment plans because the bills were higher than her monthly income could handle. 6 weeks after I moved out, Sharon's sister Lisa called me. Lisa said Sharon was struggling financially and emotionally. Kyle and Emma weren't contributing anything to household expenses. Sharon was working overtime to cover the mortgage and bills. Sharon was also doing all the housework because Kyle and Emma were too busy with their careers. Lisa said Kyle's art business wasn't generating income despite his professional workspace and expensive equipment. Kyle spent most days playing video games and hanging out with friends. Emma had quit her coffee shop job because she said the manager was mean to her. Lisa asked if I would consider moving back home to help Sharon. I told Lisa that Sharon made her choice when she prioritized Kyle over our marriage. I said Sharon could ask Kyle and Emma to contribute or ask them to leave. Lisa said Sharon wouldn't ask Kyle to leave because she felt responsible for his well-being after his mother died. Lisa said Sharon was trapped by her own guilt and loyalty. Lisa asked if I could talk to Kyle directly about contributing financially. I told Lisa that Kyle wasn't my responsibility anymore. Sharon created this situation by enabling Kyle's behavior and ignoring my concerns. Sharon would have to figure out how to resolve it herself. 2 months after I moved out, my neighbor Mrs. Chen called to tell me what was happening at the house. Mrs. Chen said Kyle and Emma were having loud arguments every night. Police had been called twice for domestic disturbance reports from other neighbors. Mrs. Chen also said the house looked terrible from outside. The lawn wasn't being mowed. Trash was piling up by the garage. Kyle's friends were parking in neighbors' driveways and leaving beer cans in their yards. Mrs. Chen asked if I was planning to return because the neighborhood was being affected by the situation. I told Mrs. Chen I had moved out permanently and she should contact Sharon about any problems. 3 months after I moved out, Sharon called me crying. She said Kyle and Emma had destroyed the house and disappeared. Kyle owed money to several people who had been calling and threatening Sharon. Emma's cat had caused thousands of dollars in damage to carpets and furniture. Sharon said she found drug paraphernalia in Kyle's room after he left. She said Kyle had been using our house for dealing drugs to his friends. She said Emma had been stealing items from the house and selling them online. Sharon asked if I would help her clean up the house and repair the damage. She said she couldn't afford professional cleaning services or contractors. She said she was sorry for not listening to my concerns about Kyle. I told Sharon I was sorry she was going through this, but I couldn't help her. I said she would need to handle the situation herself just like she handled everything else without consulting me. Sharon asked if we could work on our marriage now that Kyle was gone. She said she realized she had made mistakes and wanted to try counseling. She said she missed our relationship and wanted to rebuild what we had. I told Sharon that our marriage ended when she chose Kyle over me repeatedly for almost a year. I said I had tried to work with her on the situation and she dismissed every concern I raised. I said too much damage had been done for me to consider reconciliation. Last month Sharon put the house up for sale. She couldn't afford the mortgage and repairs on her income alone. She also couldn't find Kyle to pursue legal action for the drug activity and property damage. Sharon moved in with her sister Lisa temporarily while the house sells. The real estate agent said it would take months to sell because of the damage and the market conditions. Yesterday Sharon texted me asking if I wanted any of my belongings from the house before it sold. I told Sharon to donate anything I left behind. I had already replaced what I needed and didn't want reminders of that situation. Sharon also asked if I would sign papers waiving my claim to proceeds from the house sale. She said she needed all the money to pay for repairs and legal fees. I told Sharon to have her lawyer contact my lawyer about property division. Some of you asked in previous comments why I stayed as long as I did. Looking back, I think I kept hoping Sharon would realize what was happening and choose our marriage over Kyle's demands. I thought if I was patient enough, Sharon would see that Kyle was taking advantage of her generosity in our relationship. I was wrong. Sharon was so focused on being Kyle's savior that she couldn't see how it was destroying everything else. She turned Kyle into her primary relationship and treated me like an inconvenience that interfered with her caregiving mission. The house sold last week for $40,000 less than we paid for it because of the damage and necessary repairs. Sharon will barely break even after paying real estate fees and fixing what Kyle and Emma destroyed. She's still living with her sister and looking for a smaller apartment she can afford on her income. Kyle contacted me once through social media asking if I would write a character reference letter for him. He said he was trying to rent a new apartment and needed references from responsible adults. I blocked him immediately. Emma tried to friend me on Facebook last month. Her profile showed she was living in another state with a different boyfriend. I blocked her too. I've been in my apartment for 4 months now and my life is completely different. I wake up when I want to. I eat what I want to eat. I watch whatever I want on TV. I have friends over without asking permission or worrying about noise levels. My home is peaceful and belongs to me. I started dating someone new 2 months ago. Janet is a divorce teacher who understands boundaries and personal space. She has her own apartment and her own life. We enjoy each other's company without either of us trying to fix or rescue the other person. Janet asked me recently if I missed being married. I told her I missed being married to the Sharon I knew before Kyle moved in. The Sharon who laughed at my jokes and planned weekend trips with me. The Sharon who cared about my opinions and respected my feelings. That Sharon disappeared when Kyle became her full-time project. People at work have commented that I seem happier and more relaxed. My boss said my work performance has improved significantly since I moved out. I didn't realize how much stress I was carrying from living in that situation every day. Sharon sent me a Christmas card this year with a long handwritten note apologizing for everything that happened. She said she understood now that she chose Kyle over our marriage repeatedly. She said she was sorry for dismissing my concerns and enabling Kyle's behavior. She asked if we could meet for coffee to talk about everything. I didn't respond to Sharon's card. An apology doesn't undo 22 years of marriage ending because she prioritized her nephew's comfort over her husband's well-being. An apology doesn't give me back the year I spent feeling like a stranger in my own home. Some people might think I should forgive Sharon and try to rebuild our relationship. Some people might think marriage means working through problems no matter what. I tried working through problems for almost a year while Sharon chose Kyle over me every single time. I'm 53 years old and I don't want to spend whatever years I have left waiting for someone to choose me over their other priorities. I don't want to live with someone who needs a crisis to realize my value. I don't want to rebuild a marriage with someone who threw it away so easily. My life is better now. Quieter, simpler, and completely under my control. I don't have to negotiate with anyone about using my own belongings or sleeping in my own bed. I don't have to watch someone I love prioritize everyone else's needs over mine. For those of you who follow this story from the beginning, thank you for the advice and support. Many of you predicted exactly how this would end. You were right that some situations can't be fixed with patience and compromise. You were right that enabling never helps anyone in the long run. Kyle is Sharon's problem now, not mine. Whatever happens with his life or her financial situation, I'm not involved anymore. I made my choice to leave and I'm sticking with it. This will be my final update. I'm closing this chapter of my life and moving forward with the lessons I learned. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who don't value what you bring to their lives. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. My dad abandoned me for his new family and now wants to reconnect. I gave him a chance, but what I saw at the mall changed everything. I, 16F, have been living with my mom, 45F, since my parents divorced when I was 8. My dad, 52M, left us for his coworker, 38F, who is now his wife. They have 2 kids together, a boy, 6M, and a girl, 4F. My parents' marriage had been rocky for years before the divorce. I remember them arguing a lot, mostly about my dad's long work hours and his emotional distance from our family. My mom would often cry after these arguments, and I'd try to comfort her, not really understanding what was happening. The day my dad left is etched in my memory. It was a Sunday morning, and I was eating breakfast when he came downstairs with a suitcase. He told me he was going on a business trip, kissed me on the forehead, and left. It wasn't until a week later that my mom sat me down and explained that dad wasn't coming back. At first, I didn't believe it. I kept waiting for him to walk through the door, to tell me it was all a mistake. But days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and he never came back. My mom tried to shield me from the worst of it, but I overheard phone calls and conversations with relatives. That's how I found out about dad's affair with his coworker. Growing up, I hardly saw my dad. He would cancel our plans last minute, forget my birthdays, and miss important events in my life. When I was younger, I used to cry and ask my mom why he didn't want to see me. As I got older, I just accepted that he wasn't interested in being my father. There were times when the absence of my dad hit me particularly hard. Like in 4th grade, when we had a father-daughter dance at school. I begged my dad to come, leaving voicemails and sending texts. He promised he would be there, but he never showed up. I ended up going with my uncle instead. Or on my 13th birthday, when I invited him to my party. He said he would try to make it, but he didn't. Later, I found out he had taken his new family to Disneyland that weekend. That was also when I learned I had half siblings. My mom worked really hard to provide for me. She took on extra shifts at the hospital where she works as a nurse, just to make sure I had everything I needed. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. More importantly, we had each other. My mom was always there for me, attending my school events, helping me with homework, and just being a supportive presence in my life. I remember one particularly tough time when I was 12. I was being bullied at school, and my grades were slipping. My mom noticed something was wrong and took time off work to help me through it. She talked to my teachers, helped me with my studies, and even enrolled me in a self-defense class to boost my confidence. That's the kind of parent she's always been, present, caring, and willing to go the extra mile for me. Last month, out of the blue, my dad called me. He said he wanted to reconnect and make things right between us. I was shocked and didn't know how to respond. He suggested we meet for dinner, just the two of us. After thinking about it for a few days, I agreed. The dinner was awkward. My dad tried to act like nothing had happened, like he hadn't been absent for most of my life. He talked about his job, his new house, and his other kids. He showed me pictures of them on his phone, gushing about how smart and talented they were. I sat there, feeling more and more angry and hurt. He told me about how his son was a star player on his little league team, and how his daughter was taking ballet lessons. He talked about family vacations they'd taken and holiday traditions they'd started. With each story, I felt more and more like an outsider, realizing all the experiences and memories I'd missed out on with him. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I asked him why he suddenly wanted to be in my life now. He looked uncomfortable and said he had been thinking a lot about his choices and realized he had made mistakes. He said he wanted to make amends and be a real father to me. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to believe him, to have the father I had always wanted. But another part of me was skeptical and hurt. Why now? Why after all these years? After the dinner, my dad started texting me regularly. He would ask about my day, my friends, and my hobbies. It felt strange and forced. I didn't know how to talk to him or what to share. My mom noticed the change in me. When I told her about my dad reaching out, she tried to be supportive, but I could see the worry in her eyes. She told me to be careful and not get my hopes up too high. A week ago, my dad invited me to spend a weekend at his house with his new family. He said it would be a great opportunity for me to get to know my half-siblings and stepmother. I was hesitant, but he insisted it would be fun. I agreed to go, mostly out of curiosity. When I arrived at their house, I was overwhelmed. It was much bigger and fancier than our apartment. My stepmom greeted me politely, but I could tell she was uncomfortable. My half-siblings were shy at first, but soon warmed up to me. Throughout the weekend, I felt like an outsider. My dad and stepmom would exchange looks when they thought I wasn't watching. My half-siblings had inside jokes and stories that I wasn't a part of. It was clear that they were a family unit, and I was just a visitor. I tried to join in their conversations, but I often felt lost. They talked about family vacations I hadn't been on, relatives I'd never met, and experiences I'd never shared. My dad tried to include me, but it often felt forced and awkward. At one point, my half-brother asked me why he'd never seen me before. I didn't know how to answer, and my dad quickly changed the subject. It was clear that they hadn't really explained who I was to the kids. The most painful moment came on Saturday night. We were all sitting in the living room, watching a movie. My half-brother cuddled up to my dad, and my dad wrapped his arm around him, pulling him close. I watched them, feeling a lump in my throat. That was the kind of affection I had craved from my dad for years, but never received. On Sunday, as I was packing to leave, my dad came to talk to me. He said he hoped I had a good time and that we could do this more often. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. As he drove me home, he talked about future plans, family vacations, holiday gatherings, regular dinners. I sat in silence, my mind racing. When I got home, I broke down in tears. My mom held me as I cried, not asking any questions, just being there for me. After I calmed down, I told her everything. She listened patiently, her face a mix of anger and concern. Now, I'm confused and hurt. I don't know if I want to continue this relationship with my dad. On one hand, I've always wanted a father in my life. On the other hand, seeing him with his new family made me realize how much I've missed out on, and how easily he moved on without me. I'm torn between giving him another chance and protecting myself from more hurt. My mom says it's my decision, but I can tell she's worried about me getting hurt again. My friends are divided. Some say I should give him a chance, others say I should cut him off completely. I keep thinking about all the moments in my life where I needed a dad, and he wasn't there. The father-daughter dances I attended with my uncle, the graduations he missed, the times I was sick and he didn't even call. Can he really make up for all of that now? Then I think about my half-siblings, and how they get to have the dad I always wanted. It's not their fault, but I can't help feeling resentful. Why does he get to be a good dad to them, when he couldn't be one to me? I don't know what to do. Should I continue trying to build a relationship with my dad? Or should I accept that we'll never have the father-daughter bond I've always wanted? How do I deal with the jealousy and hurt I feel towards his new family? Any advice would be appreciated. Update 1: It's been a few weeks since my last post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone who commented and offered advice. Your words really helped me think through this situation. After much consideration, I decided to give my dad another chance. I told him I was willing to work on our relationship, but that it would take time and effort on both our parts. He seemed genuinely happy and promised to do better. For the first 2 weeks, things seemed to be improving. My dad called me regularly, and we even met for coffee a couple of times. He asked about my life and seemed interested in getting to know me. I started to feel hopeful that maybe we could build a relationship. During one of our coffee meetings, my dad brought up the idea of me joining his family for their annual summer vacation. He talked about how they always rent a beach house for a week, and how it would be a great opportunity for me to bond with everyone. I was hesitant, but he seemed so excited about the idea that I agreed to think about it. We also had some more serious conversations. I told him about how his absence had affected me growing up. I shared stories about times when I really needed him, like when I was being bullied in middle school, or when I had my first heartbreak. He listened and apologized, saying he wished he could go back and change things. One day, he even asked to see some of my childhood photos. My mom had kept albums of me growing up, and I showed him a few. He seemed sad as he looked through them, realizing how much he had missed. He asked if he could have copies of some of the photos, which made me feel like he truly wanted to be part of my life. However, last week, something happened that made me question everything again. I was at the mall with my friends when I saw my dad with his family. They were shopping for school supplies for my half-siblings. What struck me was how relaxed and happy they all looked together. My dad was laughing and joking with the kids, helping them pick out backpacks and notebooks. I stood there, frozen, watching them. They didn't notice me. I saw my dad pick up my half-sister and spin her around, both of them laughing. It was such a simple, loving gesture, but it hit me hard. I realized that in all the years of my life, my dad had never done anything like that with me. As I watched them, I remembered all the times I had gone school shopping with just my mom. How we would try to make it fun, even though money was often tight. I thought about how my dad had never offered to help with school expenses, even though he clearly had the means to do so. I left the mall feeling devastated. When I got home, I locked myself in my room and cried. My mom noticed something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her what had happened. The next day, I received a text from my dad asking if I wanted to go to the movies with him and my half-siblings that weekend. I didn't respond. I couldn't bear the thought of pretending everything was okay when I was hurting so much inside. A few days passed, and my dad started calling, asking why I wasn't responding to his messages. I finally picked up and told him what I had seen at the mall. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then he started making excuses, saying that he was trying his best and that I needed to give him time. I lost it. I told him that he'd had 16 years to be a father to me, and he chose not to be. I told him how much it hurt to see him be the kind of dad to his other kids that he never was to me. I asked him why he couldn't have been that dad for me when I was younger, when I needed him. He didn't have a good answer. He just kept saying he was sorry and that he wanted to make things right. But his words felt hollow to me. I realized that no matter how much he tried now, he could never make up for all the years he missed. I told him about all the times I had needed him. The time I broke my arm in 5th grade and he didn't even call to check on me. The time I won a science fair in 7th grade and he said he was too busy to come see my project. All the birthdays, holidays, and milestones he had missed. I asked him if he had any idea how it felt to watch other kids with their dads, knowing mine didn't want me. I told him about the nights I had cried myself to sleep, wondering what was wrong with me that made him not want to be my dad. He tried to apologize again, saying he knew he had messed up but that he wanted to do better now. But I was too hurt and angry to listen. I told him I needed some time to think and ended the call. Since then, he's been texting and calling nonstop, but I haven't responded. I don't know what to say to him. Part of me feels guilty for blowing up at him, but another part feels relieved to have finally said all the things I've been holding in for years. I feel angry, hurt, and confused. Part of me wants to cut him off completely, to protect myself from more pain. Another part of me still yearns for a relationship with him, even though I know it will never be what I truly want. My mom has been incredibly supportive through all of this. She's offered to listen if I want to talk, but she's also giving me space to process my feelings. I'm grateful for her, but I also feel guilty for putting her in this position. I've been thinking a lot about what I really want from my relationship with my dad. Do I actually want him in my life, or am I just chasing the idea of having a father? Can I ever truly trust him not to let me down again? I'm also worried about how this will affect my relationship with my half-siblings. They're innocent in all of this, and part of me would like to know them better. But I don't know if I can handle being around my dad's perfect family. I'm at a loss for what to do next. Should I give my dad another chance? Or is it time to accept that we'll never have the relationship I've always wanted? How do I move forward from here? Update 2: It's been 2 months since my last update, and I've made some decisions that I want to share with you all. After my last post, I took some time to really think about what I wanted and what was best for me. I decided to have one final conversation with my dad to clear the air and make my feelings known. We met at a park near my house. I chose a public place because I wanted to feel safe and have the option to leave if things got too intense. When my dad arrived, he looked nervous. We sat on a bench, and for a few minutes, neither of us spoke. I told him everything, how hurt I was by his absence throughout my childhood, how painful it was to see him be a loving father to his other children, and how his recent attempts to reconnect felt too little, too late. I shared specific memories that had hurt me over the years. Like the time in 3rd grade when he promised to come to my school play, and I spent the whole performance scanning the audience for him, only to realize he wasn't there. Or the time in 9th grade when I made the honor roll and called to tell him, but he rushed me off the phone because he was busy. To my surprise, my dad didn't try to make excuses this time. He listened to me, and for the first time, I saw real remorse in his eyes. He admitted that he had been a terrible father to me and that he understood why I was so hurt and angry. Then he told me something I never expected. He revealed that when my mom got pregnant with me, he wasn't ready to be a father. He said he felt trapped and resentful, and instead of dealing with those feelings, he ran away from his responsibilities. He admitted that even after he left, he was too cowardly to face up to his failures as a father. He explained that when he met his current wife, he saw it as a chance to start over and do things right. But in doing so, he completely neglected his responsibilities to me. He said he realized now how selfish and hurtful his actions had been. Hearing this was both painful and liberating. On one hand, it hurt to know that my own father had resented my existence. On the other hand, finally hearing the truth helped me understand why he had acted the way he did all these years. My dad also told me about his own childhood. He shared that his father had been abusive, and he had always sworn he wouldn't be like that. But in trying not to be abusive, he ended up being absent instead. He said this wasn't an excuse, but an explanation of why he struggled so much with being a father. After our talk, I made a decision. I told my dad that while I appreciated his honesty, I wasn't ready to have him in my life right now. I explained that I needed to focus on healing and moving forward, and that his presence was bringing up too many painful memories and emotions. My dad was upset, but he said he understood. He asked if there was any chance for us in the future. I told him I didn't know, but that for now, I needed space. He asked if he could still send me birthday and Christmas cards. I agreed to that, thinking it might be a way for him to show he cares without putting pressure on me for more involvement. We also agreed that if I ever needed anything, like help with college expenses in the future, I could reach out to him. Before we parted, my dad handed me an envelope. He asked me not to open it until I got home. When I did open it later, I found a heartfelt letter apologizing for everything, along with some old photos of us from when I was very young. It was bittersweet to see these glimpses of what could have been. Since that conversation, I've been focusing on my own life and well-being. I've started seeing a school counselor to work through my feelings about my dad and our complicated relationship. It's been helpful to have someone to talk to who isn't directly involved in the situation. The counselor has been helping me understand that it's okay to have mixed feelings about my dad. She's also been working with me on building my self-esteem and not letting my dad's actions define my worth. I've also been spending more quality time with my mom. Our relationship has always been strong, but going through this experience has brought us even closer. I've realized how lucky I am to have her in my life, and I'm trying to show her more appreciation for everything she's done for me. We've had some really good talks about our family history. My mom shared things about her relationship with my dad that I never knew before. It's helped me understand the bigger picture of why things happened the way they did. As for my dad, he's respected my wishes and hasn't contacted me beyond sending a card for my birthday last month. Sometimes I feel guilty about cutting him off, but most of the time I feel relieved. I know this decision was the right one for me, at least for now. I'm learning to accept that my family situation isn't perfect, and that's okay. I'm focusing on the people who have consistently been there for me and on building a future for myself. I've thrown myself into my studies and extracurricular activities. I joined the school newspaper and discovered I really enjoy writing. It's become a way for me to express my feelings and work through some of the complicated emotions I have about my family situation. I've also started volunteering at a local animal shelter. Working with the animals has been really therapeutic, and it feels good to be making a difference in their lives. As for my half-siblings, I've decided to send them birthday cards through my dad. I don't want them to think I don't care about them, even if I'm not ready to have a relationship with them right now. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. Your advice and kind words have meant more to me than you know. Update 3. It's been half a year since my last update, and I wanted to share how things have been going. The past 6 months have been a period of growth and healing for me. Cutting contact with my dad was difficult, but it gave me the space I needed to focus on myself and my own well-being. I've continued seeing the school counselor, and it's been incredibly helpful. We've been working on building my self-esteem and dealing with the feelings of abandonment I've carried for so long. I'm learning that my dad's actions were about his own issues, not because of any fault of mine. One of the biggest breakthroughs I've had is realizing that I don't need my dad's approval or presence to be happy and successful. I'm learning to validate myself and not seek that validation from him. My relationship with my mom has gotten even stronger. We've had many deep conversations about our past, and I've come to appreciate her sacrifices and unconditional love even more. She's been my rock through all of this. We've started a new tradition of having a mom-daughter day once a month where we do something fun together, just the two of us. Last month we took a cooking class, and this month we're planning a hiking trip. These days have become something I really look forward to. My mom has also been helping me plan for college. We've been visiting campuses and researching scholarship opportunities. It's exciting to think about the future and all the possibilities ahead of me. As for my dad, he has respected my wishes and hasn't tried to contact me directly. However, last month, I received a letter from him. In it, he apologized again for his past actions and said he was getting therapy to work on his own issues. He said he understood why I needed space and that he would always be there if I ever wanted to reconnect. Reading the letter brought up a mix of emotions, but I realized I felt more peace than anger. I'm not ready to have him in my life right now, but I'm glad he's working on himself. He also mentioned in the letter that my half-siblings ask about me sometimes. He included some drawings they had made for me. It was touching, but also a reminder of the complicated family dynamics I'm navigating. I've been focusing on my future. I'm in my junior year now, and I'm starting to think seriously about college. My grades have improved, and I've joined a few clubs at school. I'm particularly enjoying the debate club. It's helping me become more confident in expressing my opinions. I've also started a part-time job at a local bookstore. It's been great for building my independence and giving me some spending money of my own. Plus, I love being surrounded by books all day. This experience has taught me a lot about resilience and self-worth. I've learned that it's okay to prioritize my own well-being, even if it means making difficult decisions about relationships. I've also learned the importance of chosen family. My best friend and her family have been incredibly supportive throughout this whole process. They've included me in their family gatherings and have become a second family to me. I don't know what the future holds regarding my relationship with my dad. For now, I'm content focusing on the people who have consistently been there for me and on building the life I want for myself. I still have days when I feel sad or angry about my family situation, but those days are becoming less frequent. I'm learning to appreciate what I have rather than dwelling on what I've missed out on. Thank you all for being part of this journey with me. Your support has meant the world. I feel stronger and more optimistic about the future than I have in a long time.